What's going on, guys? It's Brandon with Extreme Daily Drivers, and today I'm going to be telling you how I installed my CB radio in my Jeep Commander. What is going on, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the garage. Today we're going to be talking about CB or Citizen Band radio. I installed a CB for my first time in my Jeep Commander somewhere about a year ago. And I want to go over the installation with you guys today, tell you why I have a CB, why I think they're cool, and why you should put one in your rig. All right, so CB, what is it? Well, it stands for Citizen Band Radio, and what it is basically is a frequency that we are all allowed to speak on. Basically, it's like an open line where you can kind of talk to anybody that's within range. And it's actually a really cool idea. It's been around for a long, long time. CBs were huge back in like the 60s and 70s, and they're still around. They're not used as much as they used to be, but they're really neat. Like when you really deep dive into what a CB is and how kind of cool it is to be able to talk to somebody and not have a subscription or any kind of phone bill associated with it. I mean, like free conversations with people is really, really cool. So now in order to be able to talk to anybody, you're gonna need to have a transmitter or an actual, unit, whether it's a handheld or something that's in your car, like we're gonna go over today, or you have a base station that's in your house, and then you're gonna need an antenna. And that antenna is basically gonna send and receive messages from yourself and to the others that you're talking about. So I'm gonna go over my antenna installation, we're gonna go over the actual CB installation, and we're gonna talk about some of the cool things that this thing can actually do. All right, so to kick it off, we're gonna talk about antenna installation. Probably the biggest, hardest part about installing any kind of CB radio. I chose the rear end of the Commander, partially because there was a mount that I was able to purchase that goes with the Commander. This mount is from Steel Armadillo, link down in the description. I think it was like 45 bucks. But basically, it just mounts to the side of your vehicle, two self-tapping screws, boom, and you're good to go. I mean, the thing's super sturdy, does a really good job holding on to the antenna and the cable. Now, I realize this isn't actually the greatest spot in the world to mount an antenna. The best spot to mount an antenna is basically dead center of your vehicle. So if you have a SUV like this, it would be dead center of the roof. Or if you have a pickup truck, you want to put it on dead center of the cab. Those are the best places to put the antenna. The downside of putting an antenna up there is that you're really now creating a lot of height to your vehicle. So the issue with that is maybe going under bridges, maybe going under trees if you go off-road. So there are trade-offs to your mounting location, but for the best reception, you're gonna want dead center of the vehicle. So for an antenna, I went with a 4-foot Fire Stick. This is a tunable antenna. I'll show you that in a second. But I also have it going to a spring, which I've recently found out that this is a really bad idea, because basically what it does is it extends the length of your antenna and makes it really, really difficult to tune. Now, I do have this tuned, and it is below 2. I actually forget what 2 means, but it is below 2. I think it's about 1.8 on channel 1 and 1.8 on channel 40. We'll get into more of that later, but just keep in mind, the taller your antenna, typically the better reception you're gonna get. So whenever you're dealing with a radio frequency, you want to make sure that you have kind of as little interference as possible. So one of the places where you can have interference is actually right here where your mount is going to be for your antenna. You want to make sure that this basically has absolutely no interference with the car running. And one of the ways you can do that is with one of these guys. Now, you should all have a voltmeter at your house. If you don't, link down in the description. This was like $12 off Amazon. But basically, you're going to use this to ensure that this is grounded out. Now, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it. There are a million videos on YouTube already on how to do that, but that's basically where you want to start. Make sure you have zero interference right here at your mount. All right, so you got your mount, you got your antenna, you got your spring if you decided to get it, you got your barrel. Now you have your coax cable, okay? Now this is the fun part. We got to somehow get this coax cable from here all the way into the front of the cab and plug it into the back of the actual transmitter. Let me show you how I ran this line on this install. All right, check this out. So anyway, pulled back the tail light, and here you can see where I entered the vehicle, and I have it covered up with a piece of kill mat there, but basically there is a hole there the size of my thumb. Now I know what you're thinking, the size of my thumb, why would I drill such a big hole? Well, here's the thing, man. you've got to get this through. All right, this thing is big. I don't know any other way. I mean, there's my thumb and there's the coax end. I don't know any other way to do it. And believe me, there's no hole in this vehicle that's large enough to get this guy through. So you really got to get creative and make your own. Now, once you make it into the vehicle, it doesn't matter if it's a Jeep Commander, if it's a Honda Civic, it's a Toyota Pre-Runner. Once you get into the vehicle, that's when things get a lot easier, right? Pull apart some interior pieces and run your line. So in my case, I went ahead and yanked up this guy and ran my line in there, pulled it all through, then came down, passenger door, flipped all this up, pulled this piece out. Real easy to do. You're just going to be pulling off some weather stripping here. You'll have enough room where you can grab the cable, run it, popped this guy up, ran it underneath here, loosened this enough to tuck it underneath here. Then I yanked this guy up, ran the cord all the way through, pulled this guy out, and then ran it up into the back of the CB. So once you get your coax ran, now kind of comes the fun part of actually mounting the CB. Now, depending on the size of the unit that you purchased, you can get all sorts of crazy creative with the mounting location. You literally can put it anywhere. I mean, it's really kind of cool. I mean, you could put it in the glove box. You could put it in the center console here. It's big enough that you could put it in here. You can mount it here, popular place. On the passenger side, it won't be in their way if you mount it up against here. Another spot you can mount it is right back here on the back of the kind of the rear control here for the AC and the heat. Now, a place that I was considering just because it would be the easiest to kind of use is right here on the center dash. This is a great spot. I mean, it's almost like there's a place for it. And it's really easy to run lines to here, drill up through the bottom of this, pull off the dashboard here. There's crazy room behind the car stereo to run lines. You could put an external speaker. You can go crazy. This is a really good mounting location. The only issue with this spot is that it will get hot from the sun. And if people are gonna steal CBs, yours would be on display, and maybe it's something that they wanna break your window and steal. So with all that being said, this is where I chose to mount my Andy 2 CB. What I like about this is it actually kind of fits perfectly in here. All I did to install it was take some self-tapping screws and screw it into the bottom of the dashboard here. This doesn't hinder my ability to drop down the kind of access panel here in the dash, and I can still monitor this from the driving position fairly easily. And one last thing about this location is that the speaker, which is at the bottom of the unit, is not covered up, so it's not being muffled. Now for the mic installation, that's what this wire is right here. I ran it up along the top of the steering column and then over right here to the left of my vents. It's very easy for me to grab and use, and it's very easy for me to put back. Now this little mount right here, had to buy this separately, linked down in the description. I think it was like $5, but it's just 2 screws screwed into the plastic of the dashboard, and I haven't had any issues with this. It's really easy for me to grab the mic, and it also conceals the cord so I don't have wires hanging everywhere. All right, so you got your antenna mount. You got your antenna mounted, you ran your coax, you found a place to install your CB, you found a place to install your mic where it's not annoying. The last thing we gotta do is actually hook the CB up. Now it's actually super easy. It's just a power wire and a ground wire, right? How simple can that be? But it's real important that you get the power directly from the battery. Don't just tap into the cigarette lighter. You can do that, it will work, but you have a huge chance of interference coming through that kind of weak power source. So I totally don't recommend that. You're gonna get your cleanest power directly from the battery. So now that you got it hooked up, you're gonna wanna turn it on to make sure it all works. All right, so if your unit power's on, that's awesome. That means you're getting power to it. If you hear something, that's fine too, but we're not worried about that right now. One thing you have to remember now, don't use the mic. Don't power the mic, don't key the mic. Leave the mic alone because we have to tune the antenna. So in order to do that, you are going to need one of these. This is an SWR gauge, meter, whatever they are. You're gonna have to get one. Link down in the description. Basically, the antenna is there, our receiver is there, we have power, but we don't know that we have it dialed in exactly to the frequency that we need in order to not only receive messages well, but more importantly, transmit well. Because if our SWR is off, we could fry our CB before we even use it. So let me show you how you go ahead and mess with the SWR. So the first thing you're going to do is hook this up between your antenna and your CB. Now, on the back of this, it's extremely clear how this works. You're going to disconnect the line leading to your CB, and you're going to connect it to the antenna part. Then the transmit line, which I have this nice little jumper here, that line is going to go to the back of your radio. After you get the SWR gauge hooked up, key your mic, all right? Everything is going to be off of this button, and that's going to give you the reading on the SWR meter. Something I should mention too, that when testing your SWR, you really want to be in an open area. You don't want to be right next to your house like I am right now. You want to be in a huge parking lot with nothing else around, or you want to be in a field or something like that with nothing tall. You don't even want another person standing by your vehicle. It could really change the number as you're dialing it in. So real important, be kind of in the middle of nowhere when you're actually testing and tuning the SWR. So like I told you before, the tip on this antenna is actually tunable. So you're gonna take the little cap off. Haven't had mine off in a while. All right, so the way this works is you're gonna raise and lower this to get your best SWR readings. And then you're gonna lock it down with this little guy here at the bottom. And then before you even finish everything, you gotta put this back on. So if you're gonna use this cover, you gotta put it back on and tune it from here. When tuning the CB, you want to make sure that you're testing on channel 1 and you're testing on channel 40. You want to get your number as low as possible on both these. Anything under 2 is acceptable. Anything close to 1 is awesome. So once you get your SWR dialed in, man, now it's time to use your CB. And I'll be honest with you, I've had it in the vehicle for like a year. I have listened here and there, and every now and then something happens on there that I think is funny. And I've actually never even talked to anybody yet. I've tried here and there, but I don't think anybody can hear me. I feel like what I'm picking up is something that maybe is called skip. If you don't know what skip is, I barely know what it is. And it's something to do with when like everything is perfect in the atmosphere, you can actually like jump from area to area, from here to like Vegas, basically, like super far distances. And the radio waves like bounce off the atmosphere or something like that. It's pretty crazy, man. I'm telling you, CB, there's a lot to CVs. As you could probably tell by this installation, you probably thought you just plug the thing in, hook an antenna up, and give the thing power. But no, there's a lot more to it, as you guys now know. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm a part of a lot of stupid Facebook groups, and like 99.9% of them are straight trash. That's right, they're garbage. But I'm a member of this CB Lounge on Facebook. I'm gonna put a link down in the description. Dude, I've never seen a group more responsive than this CB Lounge on Facebook. It's crazy. Somebody will post something and like in less than 24 hours, it will have 100 comments. I'm not exaggerating. It's like almost anything that they post has 100+ comments in 24 hours. Like, I don't know any Facebook groups that have that type of kind of like loyal members that chime in and actually like have something to say. Now, I will admit some of the stuff that people have to say is just kind of like, you know, they're kind of being trolls, but there's a lot of really solid information. There are a lot of people on there who are passionate about CVs, like crazy passionate about CVs. And by, you know, kind of being a voyeur on that Facebook group, it's really kind of opened my eyes up, and it makes me think like I'm really missing something. In the future, I'll probably get like a base station in the house or something like that and like step my antenna game up. But it is really, really neat. And definitely check that Facebook group out, man. It really opened your eyes on what CB radio is all about. All right, so to wrap this video up, I want to talk about why I actually have a CB radio in my Jeep Commander. Well, the main reason I got it was because if you want to be a part of an off-road car club, you're going to need some sort of communication. The places that you're going to be driving, you're probably not going to have self-service. So you got to have a way to talk to the people in your group. CBs used to be the way to go. That's why I got one. And now that, you know, time's gone by, GMRS radios are becoming more and more popular. They're very similar with CB. I think they have a little bit of better range. But anyway, that's why I got the CB. I do think it's cool. I'm super glad I got it. And I still have so much more to learn about using it and kind of maybe even connecting to people. So I'm excited still to have it. A year later, I'm still excited to have it. I turn it on from time to time and I monitor a station here and there. And it's just a lot of fun. It's really cool. And if you have a car that can go off-road and you're considering doing that at some point, I highly recommend you install a CB and maybe even a GMRS radio as well. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you install a CB in your off-road rig. They're super cool. And I hope you connect with some people in the CB community because, man, they are strong and they are passionate and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Links in the description for everything I talked about today. I'll see you next week. Later.